Hey guys, Cyan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're doing another episode of the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. Today we're looking at Pat Searcher's Serpent, Kane, Book 2. This is awesome. There's a great cover here by Ivan Gill. I love the styling. I like the colors, and I also really love that Solomon Kane looks kind of nasty on this cover. Like, his face is just really ugly, but also awesome stuff. Ivan Gill, his art style is very great. I love it, and this is a little bit different from what he does for Conan, I think, but it looks good. I like it. I really like, I think it's watercolors, yeah. It looks like Bristol board and watercolors. So there's a little bit of texturing there to the background that allows you to see what this was originally made on. And that's great. So yeah, this is Serpent Ring, issue number 2. This is pretty great. I don't necessarily know if it's better than the first issue, but it's definitely enjoyable and I quite like it. And it has a nice pace to it, a nice style, and it's very historically interesting and maybe not necessarily accurate. I'm not really quite sure how accurate it is, but based on some of the other work that he's done, Pat Searcher has done, I assume it is pretty accurate. He seems to be someone that's very on top of making sure that things look the right way, right? So this opens up here again in Africa. Father Goncolo, or Goncayo, I guess is his name, or Gancoyo, is reading or writing a letter to try to get the church to learn about the Serpent Man skull that he found, this demon that they've seen, right? And as he's doing this, and as he's about to send it off, a shamaness shows up, a woman shaman, and this turns out to be Shah Kabet, priestess of Set. This is this beautiful African lady who has these really interesting, like, bone tattoos across her body, and these bone tattoos are supposed to look like the skull of a serpent man, or the body of a serpent man. And it's really cool. I love the style. I like her design a lot. She has feathers, and she has a lot of interesting vibes to her. It's not quite what I would imagine an actual African shaman to look like, but it doesn't look wrong either, and it looks quite good. I like it a lot. I think that she's really well done. And Gancayo, or Goncalo, or whatever his name is impersonated by a snake man. Or a serpent man, right? And the original is burned to death. He tries to exorcise the demons, but the thing is that they're not really demons. They're real physical creatures, and so the exorcism doesn't actually work on them. And I guess God, the Christian God, which, if Crom and all the other gods exist, would also exist, doesn't hold power over these characters. Maybe Set is deeper, darker, more powerful, older, or because he's not from Earth, it's different, right? I'm not really sure, but God doesn't protect this man, and Set does burn him, and so he dies, right? And he's taken over, or his body, his visage is taken over by these impersonators. And then we transition back to Venice. Solomon gives the serpent totem to Abramo. He lies to him about his quest, about how it came to be. He doesn't tell him that he killed Paolo, basically in cold blood. He sins by lying by omission. He mentions this directly. And so Abramo asks him to sit down and to talk. And he shares his experiences with Solomon Kane, his story, and how he and Paolo came to be. So Paolo was his sister's husband. So they were brothers by law, and they were both men of letters and of interest. And in their younger days, they were interested in adventure. And so when Ronaldo Sarza shows up and tells him about the serpent ring of Thotamon, they fall in interest into it, right? They really like it, and so they go off with him and with the Knights of Malta in order to go find it. And so they end up in Africa, and then later they realize that this is dangerous stuff, and so they stop. But Paulo kept going, and Abramo left because he wanted to take care of his daughter instead of deal with potential death every day, right? And so eventually they don't understand what the point of the totem is, and so Solomon's getting ready to leave. Abramo is like, thank you for doing this, you didn't have to, whatever. And then Diamanta, in a bit of enlightenment, or in a eureka moment, decides to break the totem, and inside it is a map. And in this map, which we can't really see, there's information about where to go. The thing is that as soon as they're about to start unraveling the mystery, suddenly Ronaldo Sarza and Nico Cassani arrive. And Nico Cassani tries to hit on Diamanta because he's supposed to be some roguish, awesome ladies man character. and Sarsa has a bit of a standoff again with Solomon Kane. Eventually, they all settle down. They all realize that they're all kind of interested in the same thing. They all want to go find the Serpent Ring of Thotamon, and so they all decide to go to Africa together. And Diamanta goes with them because she's tired of being a scholar with no real life experience, which, as a college student, I definitely understand. At some point, you're tired of just studying and you want to actually experience what life is really like, and so they go. As this is happening, we see that in Africa, the mission is burned down by the followers of Set. The young man, I can't remember his name, returns and is given lies by the snake version of Gankalo. And then time passes, kind of an unclear amount of time, but I would assume a few months. And the team, which is Solomon Kane, Abramo, Diamanta, Sarsa, and Nico Kasani, all arrive what seems to be near Africa, but they're not quite there yet. And they're on the boat, and we see Kane and Diamanta having a bit of a romancing kind of arc there, where they're not quite to that point, but Solomon Kane continuously, lets Diamanta know that he thinks she's beautiful. She finds an interest in him, I assume, probably because he's a strong big man, but also because he's pretty gentle with her as opposed to people like Kazani. And probably because he doesn't really seem to care that she's Jewish or anything, right? And eventually they do arrive at port. They get off. They go to a tavern. And as they're all drinking, fighting ensues. And everyone has to fight. And it's very fun. It almost feels kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean adventure to an extent. Of course, this is significantly earlier in time than something like the Pirates of the Caribbean. But it does have that sort of vibe to it, that sort of feel. And it's great. Diamanta kind of ends up being the... what's it called? The Keira Knightley type character, right? The Elizabeth Swann type character, and it's really fun. I guess that makes Kasani and Sarsa something like Jack Sparrow, right? And Barbossa. And Solomon Kane would end up being Will Turner. So that's cool. I like that. And then they move on to go to Ndongo. And that's where the story ends. We have a Jeff Shanks essay at the back here introducing us to Solomon Kane. And this is a bit of an extended version of some of the work that has been done before to tell us about Solomon Kane. I can't remember what issue it was in, but we have talked about Solomon Kane before. And Jeff really expands on this a lot. He kind of explains, this guy is this sort of character. He's kind of a little bit psychotic, but he's very much into God. And he is this kind of interesting, different take on the sort of hero character. And he introduces us to the first story. He tells us about the fact that he chases down this wolf character, Laloop, I think, or like Garou or something like that, across Africa, and how Solomon Kane seems to be tied into the African continent in some ways, probably because the fact that it's so unexplored allows for a lot of things to happen there, right? So yeah, great stuff there. Overall, this is a great issue. I'm not really sure what I would rate this one. Probably about the same, an 8 out of 10, with 10 out of 10 art again. And I like the back matter a bit more this time because I prefer the essays over the chainmail type stuff or the questions. So yeah, overall, great issue. Really recommend it. And that's it for this one. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.